must realize you are doomed.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Scoundrels. Today, I'm joined here with Manny and Jared, and we're going to talk about the highly discussed Invincible, the final episode, the series finale. Is it a series or yeah, season finale?
Season.
My bad. Sorry.
It
Yeah.
just got renewed for season 2 and 3 on Friday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so a little bit of the backstory of Invincible. It is an Image comic. It was created by Robert Kirkman, who also did The Walking Dead, Spawn, Kick-Ass, and one of my favorite comic books that I've ever read was Saga. So we're gonna quickly recap episode 7 because I think we kind of have to. So episode 7 kicks off with Debbie confronting Nolan about everything that she's found out, and they show the Mahler twins putting Rudy, aka Robot, back in into his new body, basically a copy of himself into another body. Let's see. Cecil confronts Nolan about everything that he found out about. And then the fight to stop Nolan begins. And so how did you guys feel about the ending of episode 7?
Episode 7, that's right before the giant fight.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of tension right away with how the episode ended. Obviously, Nolan is completely bloodied up with having just split Immortal in half. That guy just eats it nonstop. I'm sure he loves it. So episode 8 was very, very anticipated because I knew no matter what Nolan could say, there would be no justifying what happened.
Yeah.
And I was very curious to see how Mark would take it. I didn't think at any point that Mark would be accepting. I knew there had to be some kind of setup between the two to where there would be opposing forces. Yeah. So I was very excited.
Yeah, episode 7 ended with like a giant cliffhanger. It's like what could possibly happen next? Because Mark's about to find out like about his dad and about his motives and everything.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was just like a lot of build up, and it's like what's gonna happen to this giant squid monster that's just like tearing people up.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the head of the superheroes. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
but yeah,
Cecil.
Cecil, yeah.
Yeah, Cecil.
Him just pulling out that giant monster to do anything to try to even slow down Omni-Man.
Yeah.
And Omni-Man just destroys it. But it was like a really good build up, and then everything that happens in episode 8, so
yeah. One of my favorite things about episode 7, I know is very small, is when the Mahler twins did bring the Immortal back to life, and when they were pounding on his chest, and they show all the things that Immortal's been through, like since the very beginning, going through his entire, well, not entire, but pieces of his life as the Immortal. I don't know. I thought that was a cool little thing to add, how they showed a little bit of his background. Yeah, when you guys were talking about whenever they were pulling on all the stops trying to stop Nolan. I mean, so much they use that laser beam from a satellite.
The world's most expensive nose beam.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just, it shows you how powerful this guy is. He's got no weaknesses. Unlike, referencing other comics like Superman, he is all unstoppable. Besides, I mean, he's got kryptonite. He's got something that will stop him.
Another good one would be Homelander also, because he's another take on what if Superman but bad.
Yeah. And with Nolan so far, or Omni-Man so far, there's been nothing that can really stop him. The closest that they're thinking is Mark. Okay, so we'll go into the final episode, episode 8. It just kicks off exactly where episode 7 left off. Nolan's talking to Mark, trying to explain why he did what he did. Coming from a civilization, the Viltrum Empire, their main reason for doing everything is basically just to conquer different planets, everything. And the way that he was explaining how why he did certain things, it kind of reminded me of Spartans, how they would remove the weak. Like
Yeah.
because you know how Spartans would do if there was a child born with deformity or anything, they'd get rid of it, or it just looked weak, they'd get rid of it.
Yeah, they made a point to show that they had a big war where they reduced their population by half, just trying
Yeah.
to weed out the weak and bring out the strongest. And I'd like to shout out the one Viltrumite that they panned over, who looked to be twice as old and twice the size of Omni-Man. Just that giant old guy.
Yeah,
Like,
giant old guy. Yeah.
I bet that guy is completely unhinged. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about him talking about all this stuff is you saw signs of it. Like I don't know if you remember. Of course, you remember the episode where they fought those Martians for like the third time, and Omni-Man went to that portal and went to their planet, and he
Yeah.
even said, "Earth is not yours to conquer."
Yep.
And
Yeah.
right there, he kind of gave a hint, like that's what his whole thing was. So how did you guys feel about his explanation? Like, did it like kind of shock you how the lengths they would go just to conquer worlds?
Yeah, he's completely bought in to this.
Mhm.
And like even like his own son just like begging him, like someone that he spent like 18 years with,
Mhm.
which I guess is just like a small segment of like Omni-Man's life, but like still, like him just like being so like sure that what he's doing is right shows how
Yeah.
much of a like a psychopath he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, his like son just like begging and pleading him just to like stop, but he just like, no, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I think the way Jared put it, saying that Omni-Man has completely bought into the Viltrumite ideology, that's the absolute perfect way to frame it.
Yeah.
Because he is bringing their ideals. He was telling Mark that, hey, we're here to conquer y'all, but everything's going to be so much better when we come in here and take over. It is an ideology, and he's totally into it. I think that's what makes villains like that interesting, is where they don't really have any doubts, but they're totally in on exactly what they want to do. That's why Ozymandias, for instance, super smart, terrifying, evil plan, let's say in Watchmen, where he would unite the world by by essentially enacting a terrorist plot to unite them against a common enemy.
Yeah.
He's so into the idea that he doesn't really have any doubt. There's in the comic book, at least, he does, when he talks to Dr. Manhattan, he does kind of say, did I do the right thing? And so there is that little shred of doubt. But when he's talking to the other characters, he is completely sold on the idea. And that's what I think Omni-Man is. He feels like what he's doing is right. And especially on Earth, who can really stop him? There's no one that can really stand up to him and say, well, you're wrong, and like beat it into him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something that happened that was kind of interesting to me. It might have just been nothing, but right before the big fight starts and he throws Mark, when he throws him, you see like a look on his face like, I don't want to do this, or I can't believe I'm having to do this, because I don't know if he just assumed that Mark would completely understand and just accept everything, but he just had a look on his face like, so it starts. Now I'm gonna have to fight my own son. So then the big fight begins. And we'll get into like every part of this fight because there was a couple parts that just hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
So for one, to begin with, was the jets trying to shoot down Omni-Man. And
Yeah.
Mark tries so hard to save that fighter pilot.
Yep.
Everything, you think everything's gonna be good, but in the back of your head, Omni-Man's not gonna let anyone live, especially someone that attacked them. So how did that one scene, like how was that for you guys?
Well, to your first point about Omni-Man having some kind of regret, I want to call back something that happened in the very first episode where he talks about where he finally realizes that Mark has his powers.
Yeah.
He's concerned over it.
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought, well, Omni-Man probably doesn't want his son getting into the superhero game because it is dangerous. It's not like the comic books. It is a dangerous business to be in. And we'll probably get into this, but when it goes to this episode now, and God, this broke my heart. But when he refers to Debbie as more like his pet, I think that really shows you why he was so hesitant about Mark getting his powers. Because if Mark got his powers, it could either make it really complicated or really easy for him to enact this plan to conquer
Mhm.
Earth. And now he's kind of stuck with the conflict of, now this is really hard. I have to fight my own son. I mean, he made it look
Yeah.
easy, but who knows how it'll be in the future.
Yeah.
As for the pilots, and this is a recurring thing that happens in the episode. You have these moments where Mark gets the tiniest edge, the smallest win as a hero, where he can save somebody, only for it to be snatched away.
Yeah.
And it's not the pilot's death obviously was directly Omni-Man's doing when he juices his head.
Yeah.
But the people in the building, that's something that he probably could have, where Mark could have saved them, but he's not just getting beaten down physically, he's getting beaten down emotionally, because he's failing as a
Yeah.
hero in terms of strength, but in terms of actually saving people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when he just like snaps that guy's head, that's just him showing Mark that it's like so easy to like kill these people.
Yeah.
Like that's just like an example right there. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I can just do this, and it's not that big a deal. But like Mark has like 18 years of like humanity, so he's like, no, it is a giant deal. Like this
Yeah.
is like one of my kind that you're just crushing right in front of me. But Omni-Man just doesn't care.
Yeah. It's just like throughout this whole fight, I feel like Omni-Man goes over it so many times, telling them how insignificant, how meaningless, how everything these people's lives are.
Yeah.
And whenever he's like, whenever he does pop that guy's head like a cherry, he Mark even said he could have lived, he could have had a life. He was like, what's the difference from dying now and dying when he's 50? Like, what's the difference? And he even says he could have lived, he could have had a life, and you just took that away from him. So like Mark, of course, sees the bigger picture of, these people living out their lives and not just dying for no reason like that.
Yeah.
And so the next scene, just to show Mark, a even bigger lesson, I guess, in Nolan's eyes, he punches him, I think, right? He punches him and you just see him fly, and he hits the city of Chicago, I believe it was, and hits through a building, just skids all over the road. And then whenever Mark gets up to see what happened, you just see just devastation. A lot of people just died from that one incident. And then you see the building collapsing, and he like, it's like what you said, man. He's like trying to, he has like a little edge or a little victory, and that's what he's trying to create right there. He goes and he's hoping he can save these two that are in this building. And then it collapses, and we all know what we saw right there. So how'd you guys feel about that scene?
I was like, are they gonna like go there? Like, because like there's a little girl, like we don't even see her because she's probably just buried or something.
Yeah.
But like the arm that he's like holding is like, don't let that be just like an arm. He's God.
Yeah.
And he's just holding an arm. And it just like, someone said that this was basically like the Man of Steel fight, but you just actually see everything. Like it's not just like super zoomed out.
Yeah, that is true.
But yeah, it was like that was like the first time when I was like, okay, this like show is about to get like super dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, to reference another show, at least the earlier seasons, early on in Game of Thrones, it seems like let's put it in quotes, good guys, the people that you were cheering for, could not get any wins. Every time they might have a chance, for them might be just a little bit of happiness around the corner, the rug gets swept out from under them. And this is what was happening here. Mark had the chance to be a hero and fight back in his own way, and it was just taken away from him. There was nothing he could do. It was Omni-Man is oppressive, let's say. And no better way to demonstrate that. I mean, Omni-Man wasn't even there with the building. He wasn't on the other side, kind of like pushing it down on Mark. That was just Mark's own inability to hold up the building, and not able to live up to being a superhero at the moment. So there's just so many ways that he's being held down as an up and coming superhero.
Yeah. One of the scenes, or one of the parts of that really hurt you is whenever, like you were saying, whenever the building was falling, and he's trying so hard. He's even telling the girl, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Everything's gonna be okay. And like you say, it just doesn't happen. The building collapses, and we all saw what happened. And then right after that, they have another discussion about, of why he's doing this, and Mark's trying to stop him. And then to drill it into his head even more, Nolan shoots him down to the subway, and that scene happens where he just holds him and just utter death everywhere.
Yeah.
And one of the scenes, before I ask you guys how you guys felt about that one of the scenes that really bothered me as as a father was whenever the dad's reaching out for his dead daughter, and the piece of concrete's on top of him, and Omni-Man just steps on it and kills
Yeah.
him. Like that was
Like he's a bug or something. Yeah.
yeah,
He's
like
like a
he did, like he was
cockroach.
just like. So yeah, how'd you guys feel about that part?
Yeah, I think this an early criticism that I saw about the show was that the gore was over the top and unnecessary, and I think that's kind of a lazy criticism. I can see cases where over the top gore might be over the top just for its own sake. It can certainly be used comedically, but in this case, I think it really drives home the fact that these guys are otherworldly in a completely different league of their own. People getting holding Mark up to the train and then everybody getting destroyed on the inside. Yeah, it might seem gory, but at the same time, these guys are probably built like solid concrete.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen when you throw these people around, or when there's all this devastation.
Yeah.
It shows you just the kind of threat level that they are. Because if you have one superpowered guy punching another superpowered guy through a building, all you know is that, yeah, these two are punching each other, but there's no civilian deaths, or there are some implied civilian deaths. But when you see him here, you really want to root for Mark a little more. You really start to hate Omni-Man more, because all those deaths are completely unnecessary, but very shocking, for sure.
Yeah, it just like adds just like emotion to it. Like Manny was saying, like all the superhero movies, like there's all kinds of death happening, but you don't actually see it.
Yeah.
So like when you see it, it just takes it to like a whole different level. And I know it's just like a cartoon show, but like my mind kept flashing to like the Boston Marathon bombing and just like the aftermath of that.
Yeah.
And it's just like I know like it's just a TV show and everything, but like it's just like that kind of horror that is like in my mind.
Yeah.
Like it just like plays out like in the show.
Yeah.
And it like you actually feel it.
It's funny you actually bring that up about the Boston bombing, because there was a couple of reviews that I saw online how they praise this episode, and they show, and the reason why was they show you like the devastation of, it's not just, of course it's a show and everything, but like a serious events like that, like the Boston bombing, 9/11, they show you like the devastation of everything of like something like of that size, like how it looks. I guess that way.
What it brings to mind is a scene in Batman v Superman towards the end where they're fighting Doomsday, and they conveniently find an entire quarter of Gotham, I think it was, or Metropolis, that is completely devoid of life. The only destruction that is going to happen there are buildings and property damage, and you're not going to kill anybody. I think that's how they decided to deal with the criticisms about civilian deaths in Man of Steel, where Superman was fighting Zod. I think that's how they decided to deal with it in the movie. They said, okay, we'll have them fight. They'll have this super epic, explosive battle, but there won't be any civilian deaths. I think that's the wrong way to address it. I think you should lean into, well, this is what happens when superheroes and supervillains fight in a city. There are going to be these civilian deaths, and it's the superhero's responsibility to prevent that from happening. And I keep going off on the tangent, but there is a game that came out on the PlayStation 4 a couple of years ago, and the name escapes me right now, but you're playing as a superhero. It simulates what it's like to fly through the air and stop alien invasions and stop meteors or whatever, but you don't have a health bar. You cannot die. The health bar that exists in the game is actually the health of the city, like how much destruction you're not preventing. So I wish more shows would lean into that. This show actually did lean into it. It shows that, hey, fighting in a crowded city is gonna mess some people up. Don't shy away from that. That's part of a superhero's job, is to protect those people and show how difficult it is to do.
Yeah, that's very true. So the next scene, Omni-Man seems to have had enough. He tosses tosses Mark to, it seems like this random mountain town. And the impact of Mark creates an avalanche, kills hundreds more, and then he just tells Mark, what's the difference? 17 years from now, I'll have another kid. I can get married. I'll just create another one. And he's just pounding the crap out of Mark, pounding the crap out of his face. And then you see a little bit after, when he knocks out his teeth, he has the vision of Mark playing baseball. And even then, he in the flashback, he's even saying, this is so like below me. I could be doing so much more. He even said, I can just be get a better view from the top and all that stuff. And Debbie's trying to explain to him, why it means so much. Like, it's not all about Omni-Man. It's not all about Nolan. You gotta enjoy the time with your son. And whenever he rounds home plate and scores or whatever, just that scene, whenever he's like, did you see that? Did you see that? And he holds Mark up. I'm not gonna lie, I've seen it already twice, and that always gives me a lump in my throat. Just
Yeah,
the
very-
just the joy. And then of course, right after that, it cuts to it ends with like baby Mark's face, and
Mhm.
then to the face that after what his father's done to him.
That
So how
really
did
harsh
that?
cut, yeah.
Yeah. So how did that hit you guys?
I think like the genius with that scene is like Omni-Man bashing his son's face in made his teeth look like a childhood Mark's teeth, like it had, like the
Yeah.
gap and everything.
Mhm.
And I was just like, oh my god, dude, that is like the heaviest thing I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like at this point of their fight, I was like, okay, I'm ready for this to end because I can't watch this anymore. It's just like nonstop. And then it finally ends, and Omni-Man seems to maybe have feelings again.
Yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
But it's just too late now. I mean, he's just done like so much damage.
Yeah.
That harsh cut from childhood Mark to teenage Mark was amazing. I knew it was coming. I knew that was going to happen just because it felt right. But even when it happens, seeing that, seeing Mark, you've seen him throughout the entire series. You've watched him develop his powers and try to fight back just fruitlessly against Omni-Man. I think that was great. It hit so hard.
Yeah.
In talking about the flashback with the baseball game, that scene, I already liked Debbie a long time ago from earlier episodes because I thought she was an extremely important character. But that scene right there cements why she's so crucial to the series and why she's one of my favorites in the entire show. Is and it's not very deep. I mean, you have Debbie on the human side and Nolan on the Viltrumite side, and Mark is the one in the middle. You'd think he would take aspects from both.
Yeah.
But obviously, because I am human, I sympathize with Debbie and her plight a little more. I mean, she has no powers. She the best she can do is try to appeal to their empathy, of which Omni-Man seems to have none.
Yeah.
But you sympathize with her.
Yeah. One of the things I loved about Debbie was she didn't care that Omni-Man was the most powerful being on planet Earth. She would tell him how she actually feels. She was never like like nervous to speak her mind in front of Nolan.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about her. One of the lines that I love the most about this scene was right before Omni-Man took off, and he's like, "What will you have 500 years from now?
Oof.
Like, what's the difference?" And he goes, "You, Dad, I still have you." And that seemed to like snap Omni-Man. Like that's the scene that Jared was talking about, where you finally got to see maybe there is a crack in the armor right here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this is the way to get in. And you see Omni-Man just like grimace, like he's like fighting a battle within himself. He cannot feel this way. He was raised not to feel this way. Sympathy for humans and everything. Even his son, he was not made to feel that way. So you see him fighting a battle within himself, and he takes off, and they show that little speck of tear in the atmosphere. It's just that part really. I thought that they did that part fantastically.
Yeah, and as Steven Yeun is obviously a great actor. I had never seen him do any kind of voice work, but easily the best actor on the show, voice work wise.
Yeah.
I felt that J.K. Simmons only really came alive in this last episode, like when it was absolutely necessary for him to do so.
Yeah.
So just a great work from both of those guys. And I'm usually very wary of shows or movies hiring big name actors to do voice work, because voice acting is so different from acting in person or acting in theater. And obviously one of the draws of the show was that it had such a stacked voice cast.
Yeah, it did.
But they didn't really disappoint. You know, I was a little down on J.K. Simmons throughout the series until this episode. But everyone really came into their own, and you know, it's good that they did, because it's such a crucial episode, an emotional episode. You know, they sold it even more.
I remember receiving a message from a text message from Jared saying, "How did they afford this cast? Like it's an intro series. No one's heard of Invincible. I heard it from you guys. That's what made me want to watch it. And whenever I saw the cast that they had, I was like, wow, like they had so many names, so many big names join this.
I feel like some of this cast could just play like the actual movie too. Like Stephen Yeun would be perfect for like a Mark and have to do like a couple like recasts. But I was also thinking I want to see Will Sasso as those like two twins, like so bad. They're like, guys. I want to see it so bad.
Well, the his name escapes me, but the guy that does the voice for those guys, who is a very prolific voice actor, he's a really tall guy. I think he can play those guys, and and I would hope he does, because his voice is magical and just perfect. Probably the most perfect. New voice for Dr. Hibbert on The Simpsons, by the way. That's him.
Oh, is that him? Oh, I didn't even know that. But yeah, just to get to the Mahler twins, they're one of my favorite characters on the show, because you can never take them seriously, and then they would joke around, and they were one of my favorite characters.
Oh, y'all mentioned the budget. I was kind of worried about the budget too. One of the things that I'm not sure if you guys noticed it or not, but there were a lot of complaints about the show, about the animation, that it was a little stilted in between action scenes, and it seemed like the budget all went to action scenes, especially in the last episode.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe most of the budget went to hiring voice work, but maybe that'll change in the next couple seasons.
All right, so then we get to the rebuild area after Omni-Man leaves. They show Mark recovering. Let's see. They show Mark recovering. Him getting back with his friends. I'm trying to remember the main parts, because at this point I was still like recovering from everything that just happened in the episode. One of the things was after Mark recovered, he was in the restaurant with his friends, and he gets a call from Cecil saying, "We have unknown I don't know, beacon or whatever coming towards Earth. We don't know what it is. We need you." So he takes off. And that's where he sees Alan the alien. I don't know if you guys knew that was his name. But played by Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen. So he tells them all late, "Hey, there's a Viltrumite on your planet." He's like, "Yeah, I know." They talk about it super late. And then he talks about the Coalition of Planets, the people he works for. Their main thing is trying to stop the Viltrumite Empire. So how did you guys feel about Alan the alien in general? Because I know he came back in a couple episodes. Do you feel like he's going to be a bigger part in season 2, or do you think he's just like a little, every now and then come and visit Mark?
I think he's kind of the I don't know if this is too accurate, but kind of like the Green Lantern of that sector. He goes on patrol and he checks on this planet and makes sure it's all right, and that's when he tells Mark, "Hey, you guys got a Viltrumite on your planet." I don't know if he'll have a bigger role. If he does, then great. But I think what he does as like an envoy to the Coalition of Planets and then back to Earth is a fun role for him. Unfortunately for me, Seth Rogen is one of those voices where if I hear it, all I picture is Seth Rogen.
The same thing.
And if there was ever a live action movie, that'd be an amazing transformation. It'd be a Chris Pratt level transformation to go to really big buff Alan the alien. But I like the character. I thought the character was really fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they maybe use it as just like a little bit of like a recap, and then just kind of like a break from the action too, just kind of like so you can breathe for a second. But yeah, I like him, and also I just picture like Seth Rogen sitting there, not even like an alien,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like a cool little breather you can have in like every maybe like 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah. One of the things that was interesting, whenever Omni-Man, I'm pretty sure you guys caught it, but when Omni-Man was just telling Mark about everything in the beginning of the episode, and he was saying, planets that resisted, we would, destroy them or whatever. They showed a civilization that was like Alan the Alien. So they actually
Yeah.
showed a little bit of Omni-Man destroying his world, because he does end up telling Mark, that
Yeah.
the Viltrumites are the ones that destroyed their planet. One thing to hit back on, I want to get you guys' perspective of this, because I'm not sure. Remember whenever Cecil takes Mark into that completely white room,
Mhm.
and they turn on the lights and you see a little bit of what they're doing. One of the things you see is that they're putting the Immortal back together again. Do you see, did you see that as they're trying to put back the original Guardians of the Globe, or was it just the Immortal? Because there was some parts where it seemed like it looked like one of the Martians that were in the original Guardians of the Globe.
I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure that he's like the only one that can be like rebuilt, because he has that maybe that bloodline or something.
Yeah.
Where he just but that's just what I caught, is like he's probably the only one that can be like brought back to life. But
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah, I think it's in the name. Immortal is immortal as long as you have all his body parts
Yeah.
in one spot.
Mhm.
I think he might be the government's ace in the hole, because he
Yeah.
can kind of go toe to toe with Omni-Man, especially when you look back at the flashback of where he's been in history. He was Abraham Lincoln, so that was his way into the government.
Yeah.
So it's probably not the first time they've had to piece them together.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
every single time he's like probably gonna come back like more and more like pissed off. So maybe
Yeah.
there's like some like Super
yeah.
Saiyan version of him
Yeah.
like 10 times down the line or something.
One of the you know how you said, Manny, he seems to be like one of the only people that can go toe to toe with Omni-Man. This is one character that I want to see more of, because he completely just demolished Mark and his buddies, which
Oh,
which was
yeah.
Battle Beast.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
looked like he didn't have any kinks in his armor, like he could take on, something bigger. He even said, "This fight's beneath me," and he bailed. So I would love to see more of him, and they did show us a little bit more of him at the end, whenever those two random people or see something creeping up in the dark, and it was him. So that's one character, I would love to see more of.
Yeah, his voice
Yeah.
actor, I think his name is Michael Ironside or Michael Irons. He played Darkseid on the Superman cartoon. So
Oh,
another bit of perfect
wow.
voice acting, just absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
Like I said, I think he could really give Omni-Man some trouble.
yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
he like handled Mark and his friends
Oh,
like it was
yeah.
nothing,
Yeah,
and barely even like drew blood. He's just like, all right,
big
on
time.
board.
So I would love to see more of him. Of course, he's a bad guy. He's not going to join the
Mhm.
fight to stop Omni-Man.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't join Omni-Man and, try and take over. But so the big question is, at the very end, Cecil talks about Omni-Man. The last time it was just a straight shot. They don't know where he left. He just shot straight up and out of Earth. But also, Alan the Alien did say it's not like them to abandon their posts. It's very rare, not very rare, it just never happened. They never leave. And they won't stop until the world is conquered. But where do you guys think Omni-Man went?
I was gonna say, I think it's hard to say, because a part of me wants to say that he wants to negotiate with the whatever Viltrumites are coming to Earth to conquer it. With him having scouted it already. But I think he's just going to lead the vanguard when the Viltrumites come in. He was so sold in the idea on their philosophy that he's going to be the tip of the spear when the Viltrumites finally land on Earth.
Yeah.
I think the little teardrop shows that, like, how like Alan the Alien said that they like never leave, but they also never really have like a bond with like whatever civilization. So maybe he's just like, I gotta fly away and think about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like maybe he's gonna go back home and negotiate, or maybe he's just trying to think. But he
Yeah.
seems like a different case from like the other ones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but is there any coming back for him? I mean,
I know.
he did so
After
much damage.
everything.
I don't know if there is. I mean, he destroyed the cream of the crop on Earth. He murdered all
Yeah.
those, I mean, except for Immortal, sure, but he murdered everybody else, and everybody knows that now. it's hard to see how they redeem him from here.
I
Yeah.
feel like the only thing he could possibly do is save the world by killing himself. That's like
Yeah.
the only thing that I can see him doing.
Or
Yeah.
by
But I mean,
fighting invading Viltrumites.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
so like the comic's already done, right?
Yeah, it ended a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think it's gonna be more than 3 seasons, or like this will be done in like 1, 2, 3 seasons?
If I remember right, they spoke to Robert Kirkman about this, and I think he said they can get 5 or 6 seasons. I might be wrong on that, but it wasn't going to be a very long running show. And from what I've
Okay.
heard, and from what I've heard from people that have read the comic book, this show has already picked up the pace quite a bit. They've already gone really quickly through a lot of the content as it is.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah.
things I'm worried about them doing is making it last too long, like The Walking Dead. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that fell out of The Walking Dead, like I fell out season 4. I was just
Yeah.
tired of it. So
Yeah.
hopefully they don't drain this thing and just ruin everything. But so one of my last questions was, what did you guys think about the series as a whole? You guys went into it. I don't know if Manny, I don't know if you read the comics, and I know you're a big comic reader. I don't know if you've ever read it. Did you just go into this blind? Didn't know anything about it?
The only things I knew about Invincible from the comics, which I just kind of absorbed from, going to the comic book shops here locally, is that one, there's a lot of gore, because there are entire covers of Mark just covered in blood and welts and just in pieces. So I knew the gore was coming. The other thing I knew was that there's a lot of meta humor when it comes to comic books. There's a fun interaction between Mark and Robert Kirkman's in-universe stand-in about, comic books and how it's drawn. I know there's a lot of crossovers. He meets the Avengers at some point. He meets Spawn.
Oh,
I think he was introduced in the Savage Dragon comic books, which is another Image comic books property.
yeah.
So I didn't know a whole lot, but I knew to expect something good because I knew the comic books were really well received.
Okay.
Yeah, I just I was like basically heard just like people like tweeting about it and like reviewers talking about it and stuff. So I was just gonna check it out. I don't really like animated shows though, really. Like I watched like The Last Airbender, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
So like the animation is kind of like a little meh, but like the show is so good and the characters are like so good, it doesn't really matter. It's just like a really good story.
Another question I had was, did you guys have a favorite character? I know you kind of hit on Debbie a little bit, Manny. Was she like your overall favorite character of the show?
I think she played a really, really crucial part, which is a way of grounding the characters and making sure that Mark doesn't lose perspective of what it means to be human, but also what it means to take on the responsibilities of a hero. To answer the question, Mark is my favorite character, absolutely, because I think everything about him was great, and he kind of captures that Peter Parker Spider-Man kind of dynamic where you're trying to be a superhero, but you do still have the realities of still being in high school and have to deal with all these things.
Yeah.
So he's my favorite character, but I really, really appreciated the characters like Debbie and Amber who help ground Mark.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. Earlier in the series, Omni-Man says, you don't have to be out here in the streets fighting these low-level criminals. You should be stopping meteors the size of Texas. But when you meet Amber early on, she does a lot of charity work. She volunteers a lot, and that's the kind of character that I think Mark needs in his life to give him perspective on what he should do and what he should focus on, because he is still part human, no matter how virile the Viltrumite genes might be.
Yeah.
I liked Robot a lot. And then his like little like baby form too, I thought was just like super funny. But also like how like he's like the little kid now that can like control like the robots and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that'll be pretty cool like down the road. Do you get vibes that he's like not good?
In the a couple episodes I did, but I'm pretty sure he's okay now. But I mean, you saw the reason he was acting the way he was to get his own body again.
Yeah, and to get the Mauler twins to potentially rebuild
Immortal.
Yeah.
Now,
So
sorry, sorry to interrupt you.
No,
Not
go ahead.
necessarily about favorite characters or anything, but I think Robot and Rexplode had great voice actors, Zachary Quinto and
Yeah.
Jason Mantzoukas, respectively. They were
Yeah.
really, really great in terms of voice
Yeah.
acting. And Jason Mantzoukas is one of those guys where I only see him and his crazy scumbag guy look, but he played the character really well. His voice is great.
Yeah. One of my favorite characters, and I was kind of upset that he got taken out kind of quick, was actually the demon investigator, Damien Darkblood.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that dude's voice. When you talk about good voices for, voiceovers or whatever, I loved him. And then
That was Clancy Brown, I think.
Clancy
Yeah.
Brown.
Yeah.
Clancy
and
Brown.
man,
Mr.
when they,
Krabs.
is that Mr. Krabs? I
Yeah.
didn't I didn't even know that, but
he voiced a couple characters on the show, but he also voiced, I think, to me most importantly, Lex Luthor on the Superman animated show.
oh,
And
okay.
anytime I read comic books, his voice, Clancy Brown is Lex Luthor for me. He is the perfect voice for Lex Luthor.
Yeah. So yeah, he was my favorite. And whenever they exorcised him and sent him back to hell, next up would have been Mark. Steven Yeun did a great job with his voice, his story, how he's just torn in like between two different sides, the human and the Viltrumite. But obviously he's more pro-human than anything. He even said, "I don't give a f about the Viltrumite Empire or whatever that you're trying to do." So my last question was, did this finale get you excited for season 2?
Yeah, absolutely. It had the perfect setup when he was talking to Alan the alien, all these other hidden threats. His name escapes me, but the guy who had the seismic bracelets, they decided they weren't seismic
Oh yeah,
gloves, they're
yeah,
seismic
yeah, yeah.
bracelets. Him with all the mudmen in the center of the earth. Titan, now
Titan.
now having replaced Metal Face or Metalhead, I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm excited because obviously you have the looming threat of the Viltrumites, but you do have all this local stuff that you got to take care of. And so, I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean it's clearly like a huge success. So I mean they definitely have probably a bigger budget too.
Yeah.
So some of those things we have problems with will probably be like going away.
Yeah.
Well,
of course.
I have like one question though.
Oh, go ahead.
Is there anything that y'all just like didn't like about it? About like the whole show?
I'm not gonna lie. I know Manny said that he liked the voice actor a lot, but Rexplode was probably the most annoying character out of the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like his voice, like at first I was like, oh nice, they got him, but all I see is what's his name? I forgot his name on Parks and Rec.
You are a major dick.
What? Run! Eddie, get my crossbow.
Crossbow? What the?
You will pay for that!
Oh yeah. Towards the end of the series.
Yeah, but that's all I heard was him. Whenever he goes, dumb Eddie, get the car. But just he like in the beginning I liked it and everything, but after a while it just got too annoying. So he was probably the character I liked the least.
I think
oh, sorry. Go ahead. You asked the question.
Okay. I think I'm like tired of like the whole like hide your identity from your friends and stuff like that. Just like drags on for me. I get like super annoyed by it. Probably because I've seen like 4 different Spider-Men do it and other superheroes and stuff. So, but this had like a little twist, like his girlfriend already knew. So that was kind of. So they kind of like turn that like on its head a little bit to kind of avoid that like tropey like annoying thing. But that's probably like the biggest complaint, and that's not even like a big one.
I think I had the same complaint as that. Although I really, really like Amber, I think she's a crucial character for Mark for his development as a superhero. I did kind of roll my eyes a little bit when she said that she already knew that he was invincible, and that I understand that she didn't like being lied to, but it's when you're in that line of work, you protect your identity so that you people that are closest to you aren't hurt. That's why if I ever become a superhero, I'm just going to tell people who I am.
One character I am looking more forward to seeing what they can do is Adam Eve. She did a lot of stuff in this series where she showed her powers that she can basically do whatever she wants.
Does she just
So,
like create stuff or something?
yeah, she just creates, like, she
Yeah.
created her own, like, just out of nowhere, she would just create
Yeah.
stuff. So I would love to see more of her in season 2. Is there any character you guys are looking forward to besides like the main ones, Mark? Like maybe even Robot. See what kind of person he turns into in season 2. Is there anybody you guys are looking forward to?
So yeah, go for it, Jared.
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what like Omni-Man's gonna do. Like what's his next play?
Yeah.
So basically, just like waiting to see, because like like last time that we saw him, he just like flying along off like in space.
Yeah.
So that's like the biggest question like in the show is like, what's his next play?
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to more Adam Eve for sure. I really hope that they fix her logo because it just looks like an X is crossing out her logo when there's only one brief scene where they show it as closer, which is it's the molecular structure around her logo, which it makes sense because her name is Adam Eve, and shout out to all the different pun names, Adam Eve, Rexplode, Duplicate. I actually do want to see where the new Guardians get taken to, because compared to the old Guardians, these guys are kind of chumps. They're obviously still new, but they're not nearly on the same level as them.
Yeah, no.
And I am, despite how down on her I've been, I am looking forward to seeing how Amber develops. I think she immediately angled her way into being a what's her name? Barbara Gordon's role for Batman, Oracle, where she's the investigator, and she says, hey, let me support you in combat. I think she'd be really good because she would tell Mark, this place needs your help, this place needs your help, here's what you can do. Maybe give him something to do that's not necessarily your typical superhero thing where you lift something up super heavy. Maybe help out in a different way that she might come up with.
Yeah. All right, fellas, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Scoundrels. I'd like to thank Manny, Jared for joining me, talking about the series wrap up of this. Unfortunately, we didn't get to cover every single episode because we kind of started late, but I feel like we hit on all the important stuff so far, in this series with this episode. Please like and subscribe. If you go down to our description in this video, you'll see Linktree. Click on that for the links to all of our stuff. You can join our Discord. We have, of course, YouTube. We have Instagram, and we have a Twitch that we're still trying to figure out what to do. We might do some live events for that stuff. Again, thank you guys for joining me.
Happy to be here.